Challenger's history. Episode 1. The first launch. Challenger was a brand new member of the shuttle fleet, getting ready to make her main flight. Challenger could carry over 17,000 pounds more into orbit than Columbia. Pretty cool, huh? With Columbia finishing the first flights of the new shuttle program, Space Shuttle Challenger would fly on Shuttle Flight 6. The vehicle was transported to the launch pad on November 30th, 1982. Due to its structural changes, Challenger weighed over 10,000 pounds lighter. Or, hold on a second, let me calculate that again. 25,000 pounds lighter, I think. The external tank weighs 10,000 pounds less than the one used on Shuttle Flight 1. The solid rocket boosters are almost 4,000 pounds lighter. Challenger's 3 Pratt & Whitney main engines were upgraded to 104% of rated thrust. Challenger did a flight readiness firing on December 18, 1982. So far, the engines on Challenger was starting to work, and the engines cut it off a few seconds later. Now that Challenger was finally ready to fly, her launch date was given to be launched on April 4th, 1983. The crew selected for the first flight of Challenger was the second 4-man crew. These guys call themselves the Over the Hill Gang. The pilot was Commander Bobco Carroll, which was his first flight. Carroll Bobco, whatever you pronounce it. This is Bobco's first flight. Pilot Paul Weitz, who was actually he was the commander of the flight, not Bobco. So sorry about that. So Carroll Bobco was the pilot, and Paul Weitz was the commander. Pretty cool, huh? This is his second time going into space because he participated in the Skylab program. And finally, the 2 mission specialists will be Story Musgrave and Donald Peterson. Their mission? To deploy a satellite and to do NASA's first spacewalk in 9 years. The crew made their way to the launch pad on the early morning hours of April 4th, 1983. When the crew got there, they were able to put on their helmets and their emergency air supplies to be used in an emergency. This is one of the first flights where this is one of the very first flights where they used the blue astronaut suit, which is one of my favorite colors. As you can see, the first 3 crew members got their helmets on, and now Story Musgrave is getting his on. And that's the entryway to the shuttle. And then they would strap them in. Hey bro, don't make it too tight on me. Sorry. That's okay. There we go. You're all set. Be safe, guys. Thank you. You're welcome. Ugh. After they got the door locked, they quickly evacuated the pad. Let's get out of here. And just like an hour before launch, the astronauts quickly did radio checks to make sure they were okay. Challenger, this is Houston. We ask you that you guys close and lock your visors. Roger that. At the exact same time, the astronauts closed their visors. We're all set. Okay, guys, be safe. Alright, guys, let's do this. Challenger launched just a few minutes later.
Minus 20 seconds and counting. Minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. We'll go for main engine ignition. We have main engine ignition. 4, 3, 2, 7, 6. We have main engine ignition. We have main engine ignition. 4, 3, 2, 1.
At T0, the hold-down bolts on the booster are explosively released, and at the exact same instant, the solid rocket boosters ignite.
1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff of the orbiter Challenger and the sixth flight of the space shuttle. The shuttle has cleared the tower. Challenger's underway with our whole program. Houston copies, Challenger. Tower. Challenger's underway with our whole program. Houston copies, Challenger. Period of maximum aerodynamic pressure. Flight.
At T plus 2 minutes and 3 seconds, the SRB separate from the spacecraft.
SRB-7 was that something?
At T plus 8 minutes, Challenger separates from the external fuel tank. The external tank will leave it to break up in the atmosphere. Challenger is now in space for the first time. Immediately after launch, I think, or just an hour, about a few hours into the launch or mission of STS-6, the payload bay opens to release the satellite, the IUS, which weighs 19 tons. Challenger Houston, you are go for separation. Roger, we're go for the release. After the shuttle moves a safe distance away, the first stage of the IUS rocket fires to boost the satellite into a huge orbit. Then the first stage separates. Then shortly thereafter, the second stage of the IUS rocket fires to boost the satellite into its Earth low position. IUS is on its way.